Hello, everyone, and welcome to this special edition here on the YouTube channel. We're interviewing another amazing radiology candidate, and I'm hoping that this video will be very helpful for IMGs who are trying to match into radiology. We have an IMG that was successful in the match. His name is Kamyar. Kamyar, how are you doing today, man?
I'm doing great. How are you, Dr. Awan?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for joining me today. We're really excited to hear all your insights and all the things that you accomplished to kind of get here. Tell me a little bit about, yourself, where you're from, how your journey to radiology started, and, how many match cycles you went through, things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much first for inviting me. It's really an honor for me. So going back to my background, I'm originally from Iran, and I did medical school in Tabriz University of Medical Sciences, which is in northwestern of the country. And I graduated as the first physician in my family. And in 2015, actually, during medical school, I had this dream of coming here to the United States to be trained in the state-of-the-art technology. So in 2015, I had the opportunity to come here. I started as a postdoctoral research fellow at Johns Hopkins University. And my first, impression was, I really loved radiology, but then I got involved into, urology, and because the research was on prostate MRI. So I was just in parallel, just going forward with urology and radiology. So in 2018, it was my first match that I only applied to preliminary general surgery, and I matched in Yale General Surgery as a prelim. I wanted to get impression of what the real clinical practice in the United States is, and also I just wanted something to shed light on my decision, which after 2 years I definitely said that yes, radiology is something that I really want to do.
That's awesome. No, that's great. It's very inspiring. And, I noticed that you did 2 years of preliminary surgery, and then you switched to radiology. You kind of made a switch. Was that an easy shift for you or an easy decision for you?
I would say at the beginning, it was maybe not because, I did 4 years of research in urology, mostly on prostate MRI. And that's why I had interactions and connections with radiology departments, and I had good mentors in radiology. That was the positive and good thing, because when I decided to switch to radiology, I went back and I reached out to those mentors in radiology, and they were really approachable, very open-minded, and they just supported my decision. And, and also this, during general surgery training for 2 years, I had almost every day, I had interactions with radiology faculty and residents. We had consults in ED and, on the floor, and we were just, going to the radiology reading room and just going through the images with the radiologist. And I really loved this interaction and the radiology world. They were, as I said, really open-minded, really approachable, really knowledgeable. And I really enjoyed just looking at the images. And this was something I said that, listen, radiology that's it. This is what I really want to be for the rest of my life. And also, again, this prelim training, showed me different aspects of radiology. Number one, I learned that radiology is really, it's versatile, from, looking at images to minimally invasive procedures to screening, everything is covered with radiology. And also I learned that radiologists, as consultant to other physicians, they really play a key role in patient healthcare. And, altogether, I decided that, radiology would be the best option for me.
I think your reasons are very similar to mine, actually. I really, was drawn to the versatility of the field that, you can read studies, you can do procedures, you can talk to patients, you can really tailor your career to what you really want to be, so I think that, that's awesome. Obviously, radiology is really competitive, and, it may be tempting to, you have a unique, story. You may have been tempted to, were you ever tempted, first of all, to sort of match into something maybe less competitive? Because radiology is very competitive. Like maybe did you think about, maybe I should go for something like, internal medicine or family medicine, something things that are statistically maybe more where you're more likely to match as an IMG, or did you have doubts about radiology, or were you just completely motivated? Listen, I love radiology. I'm passionate about it. I'm just going to go for it.
Yeah, at the beginning, I had some doubts, but I was lucky enough and really fortunate enough that I had very good mentors in radiology, and they really believed in me, and they totally supported me. And they said that, you're really competitive for this specialty, and you should be able to match. And that was really encouraging. And since then, I said I never had. I would say, yeah, I never had any other option as plan B, though, like normally I should have plan B in case I was not matched. But, fortunately I matched. So I never, my thought process never went to my second plan.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I want to talk a little bit about your, history as an IMG, because I think that's really important. That's really what, people really want to know and hear about. You're an IMG. You obviously face challenges that are unique to IMGs that US graduates don't face. Like myself, I'm a US graduate. My father was an IMG, and I absolutely love IMGs. And, if I could, all my residents would be IMGs. And I mean that because I think that IMGs are really unique. They, work really hard, and I absolutely love IMGs. I think they work with a chip on their shoulder. But, I want you to just to elaborate on the challenges that IMGs face that US, trainees don't face, because some people aren't familiar with that, and some people, quite frankly, don't really get it or don't understand the hurdles that you guys have to go through versus, people that just, kind of go through the US medical system.
Yeah, absolutely. So there are several challenges that IMGs have to face with. Number one, it's visa issue. There are majority of IMGs need visa sponsorship, and that's why it's kind of tricky. That's why they cannot, if they are not matched first year, it's really hard for them to enter a prelim year, and then for the second year, if they are not matched, so they would not have any sponsorship for visa. So that will be legally very challenging for them to stay in the United States. And number two is, most of the IMGs, they don't have US clinical experience. So when they first come here, although they were physicians in their home countries, as they have no, clinical experience here, so they sometimes have issues, especially, some programs, they may ask about their, clinical acumen, which, on the paper, they pass all the steps, but some programs, they may have questions about their clinical abilities. And that's why for most of the IMGs think that if they are not matched, then having prelim in their background would definitely solidify their application, because then they show that, listen, I did this in my prelim year or transitional year, I'm a good physician, and I'll be able to do all clinical skills and abilities in the future. So these are two main things that most IMGs struggle with during their stay in the United States.
Yeah, I think it's definitely the exposure. They get lack of exposure, which, the visibility, I think, is really important, for US students that, IMGs may not necessarily get. So I think that's totally true. You obviously were really successful in this match, Kamyar. You matched at Penn State Hershey. Congratulations again. I think that's just amazing. It's an amazing program. I interviewed there myself back in the day when I was, applying in 2008, 2009. What was the single best thing you did that you think helped you and that maybe solidified your match? What was the number? If you could name one thing that you did that really led to your success in this match, what would that be?
I would say I reached out to people, as many as I could. You can't imagine how many people I talked with in different platforms, on social media, in real life, at different conferences, RSNA, or in my own program. I asked my other mentors in surgery, in urology, in radiology, just ask them, do you know anybody in that program? Or do you know any radiologists as a friend or as a colleague? So I talked with many of those, and I could get even very little thing for everyone. And when I collected all those, they were really helpful hints for me. And as I said, for example, I reached out to you, and now you're my mentor, and I'm, honor mentee of yours. So this was all possible through not being shy, reaching out to people, and try to have connection with different people and networking.
Yeah. No, it's interesting that you say that because, I met you, through Twitter, like you started to tweet out a lot of my posts and stuff on the Rad App working group. And, you were really active. And, I think I may have DM'd you first. I think it may not have been you DMing me, but I think I was like, hey, Kamyar, I just want to say thank you for, tweeting my post. And then we just started talking. I met you at RSNA. You had asked me to reach out to PDs on your behalf. And here we are doing an interview, in your match. I think it's a beautiful thing. Networking and mentorship is such a beautiful thing. It allows people to flourish, like yourself. So I think that's just awesome. Speaking of mentors, what's the one thing that a mentor told you, that was great, or something that you would want to share with other people or other prospective applicants, like something very important that a mentor told you about the match this cycle?
Yeah, I would say, going back to my decision to, switching from surgical specialty to radiology, it was a big question for me, whether I would be, a good applicant, whether I would be a competitive applicant, what programs would think of my application from the switch. And when I reached out to my mentors and different people in radiology, I didn't expect that. They all supported me. They, gave me some examples of, listen, we have, a couple of residents who did the same. They switched from surgery to radiology, from medicine to radiology, and they're all successful, radiologists. And that was really encouraging for me, because I would say, when an applicant has some red flags or weaknesses on their application, they just see their own application and they compare themselves to other really competitive applicants. And that might be discouraging first, but when you talk with a good mentor and real mentor, they see the bigger picture, and they have previous experiences from, hundreds of applicants. And so they can easily and truly give you, their honest impression about your application, whether you are a competitive applicant or not. And to me, as I said, they all mentioned that, my application is great, and I just, went forward with that.
Awesome. And in terms of the match, you mentioned the match. What were some of the key resources that you used to sort of help you with the match and the match process?
I would say social media is number one. Because of the COVID and virtual interview process, most programs had virtual open houses. So I attended most of those as much as I could. And I got to know different other applicants and other faculty. And, and I would say also there was a group of Iranian applicants in one of the social media platforms that I joined that group, and we had, mock interviews, we had, different support groups from different specialties, especially radiology. There were radiology residents, and they were all supportive. And I use these two, plus I just touch base with other applicants in different specialties in radiology and also other specialties, just to, share our experiences, share what we learned from the process. And, I just always believe that, sharing is caring, and nobody will lose by sharing their experiences.
Awesome. No, you've been very generous, even on Twitter, these days, posting a lot of your tips. So I think that's fabulous. Tell me a little bit about research. Did you do a lot of research? Did you feel like you had to do research because you were an IMG? How much research was a part of your journey in sort of matching into radiology?
Yeah, generally most of the IMGs, when they want to apply for competitive specialties like radiology, as far as I know, they all do research for a year or two or maybe more, because this is the the main pathway to enter the US medical system, get to know the healthcare system here in the United States, and know people, get letters from their mentors, from their research mentors. So this is a kind of normal pathway for IMGs. And I did that too, since 2015, I did research for 4 years, and I had several publications, and I would say that was really helpful for me. And that was really one of the key parts of my application, because this is my personal thought, because in all my interviews they were asking questions about my research experiences, about my papers. So I assume that played a key role in my match process.
Awesome. And I want to talk a little bit about visibility, because I think visibility is a concept that's not as readily apparent for IMGs. Obviously for US graduates, we take it for granted, we're already here. But for an IMG, that's a challenge, right? And you kind of alluded to that earlier. And you told us a little bit about how you made yourself visible, but can you just tell us how did you increase your visibility as an IMG? How did you really get out there to meet PDs, to make people know, hey, this is Kamyar, this is who I am, consider me?
So first of all, I use social media, Twitter. And, I would say that was a game changer, because I was proactively involved on social media, meaning that, number one, my first, activity was just attending virtual open houses and, just take some notes for myself. And then I figured out in some of the open houses, there were some applicants, especially US medical students, who were not able to attend because of their clinical rotations, or they have courses. And a day later, they were just posting on the program, Twitter account, saying that, okay, what were the topics that you guys discussed in the virtual open house? And there were also some applicants from, international, there were IMGs who were not in the United States. They were in their home countries, they were residents, and because of the time difference, they were not able to attend. So I took the initiative of, I created a group, as you mentioned, radiology applicant working group. I invited and involved different radiology applicants. And what we were doing, we were just attending different virtual open houses of radiology programs. We were tweeting and posting, takeaway messages from that like virtual open house. And by doing that, we were providing a platform for applicants and also radiology programs. And by doing that, it was just, a platform. They were just interacting, in applicant program interactions were just, highly increased, enhanced. Programs were asking questions from applicants and vice versa. So I would say this was something it's really increased my visibility, plus the other members of the group visibility, because whenever they were posting the tweets, the takeaway messages, there were many people, including applicants, PDs, APDs, seeing those tweets. And on the other hand, I as I said, I attended RSNA, and I touched base with different people, with residents, PDs, other faculty. And that was also key, because when I was talking with a couple of residents from different programs, they were giving me some updates in their programs, which were really helpful. Otherwise, those were not available on the program website. And it was only available by attending that conference, talking with people, and just getting to know different updates about the programs.
Yeah, I think Kamyar, honestly, the Rad App working group was a complete game changer for you. I think that that is exactly what I spoke about when I emailed PDs on your behalf. I would say, Kamyar, started this Rad App working group. He helped so many people through this process. I think, just the creativity that you showed, on social media is what really it's exactly what I talked about. That's how I sold you. That's like literally how I sold you to all these PDs that I emailed on your behalf, So I think, it's very important for, if you can find a creative way or creative niche to help people like you did, that can be a game changer, as I think it really was in your case. You know what I mean? I think that's really kind of what, got you over the hump, so to speak, for the match. How did you make up for, deficiencies or maybe perceived deficiencies that you had on your application when you were applying, this cycle for radiology?
So my year of graduation was high because I graduated in 2011 and I came here in 2015, and I was involved in research mostly. So my year of graduation was high. So that may be considered as as a weakness by some programs and by some faculty members. So what I did, as I mentioned, I just entered prelim general surgery training. And by doing so, I was very active. I was, all my faculty, mentors in surgery, they like me, they like my work ethics and my, functionality and performance. And, by doing that, when I had a letter from my surgery mentor and my surgery PD, they all mentioned all these, they all covered and, answered all possible questions about having a high, year of graduation, meaning that, I had, I was friend with my co-residents, with my chief residents. Again, work ethics was great. Professionalism was not questionable. And these are something that, that programs may ask or may have questions about for people like me, who is like non-traditional applicant. And by spending 2 years in general surgery training, I think that I covered most of those questions.
Awesome. Awesome. And Kamyar, as a final thought, do you have any final advice that you want to give to, all the IMGs that are applying, not only to radiology, but, to any of the competitive specialties, like any last piece of wisdom you want to impart on them?
Yeah. So everyone will tell them that application and match process is really tough, especially for competitive specialties. It's really tough for IMGs. So we all know that, but what I want to say is just follow your dreams. This is number one, because if you really believe in yourself, you can follow your dream and you can get your goals. And number two, try to find really good and true mentors. A true mentor, I believe, as I posted recently, is a person who, constantly encourages you, gives you constant feedback, and just believes in you. Because otherwise, if your mentor doesn't believe in you, you will not match, because you don't have that solid support system from your mentor. So believe in yourself, find true mentor, and just talk with different people, including residents who are IMGs and had gone through the same steps. Do not try to make a new path for yourself. Just try to follow the others' steps, who are IMG steps, in order to get to your dreams.
There you have it. Thank you, Kamyar, for shining your light on the rest of us, providing us with pearls of wisdom. Very much appreciate it. I know this will be very beneficial to all the IMGs. Appreciate your time, Kamyar.
Thank you so much, Dr. Awan. I really appreciate it.